Hello, just narrating here over a drawing I did, or a time lapse of a drawing I did, and we're starting a little bit later into this drawing process actually, because when I recorded this, it was my first time trying out my new camera mount, well, my phone mount that lets me record, and quite a few minutes of drawing was very blurry, out of focus. Don't rely on the autofocus was the learning here. So I did realize partway through, managed to check that the video I was recording was usable and fix the angle a little bit. So you may have noticed I've got some very faint outlines there of the characters. I did kind of a rough anatomy of heights and positions. And now what I'm going through here is just going in and adding brief outlines to those characters, adding a bit of form. So what I've kind of done here, this was like an initial character design for a little story I've been working on. I've just storyboarded up essentially a short children's story that I'm hoping to animate at some point. Obviously, I've got to find the time. Um, but these were my initial characters, so I wanted them to be fairly simple, fairly bold characters. And as you can see here, we have a young boy in his raincoat, and then this wizard in the middle, and then this slightly beardier, hattier wizard in the right hand side. Essentially, what I wanted was to find, well, just create some characters that fit together while being a little bit fun. You know, the bigger the beard, the bigger the hat, the more important the wizard. So this lad who finds himself in the wizard world is unknowingly in the garb of a junior wizard right off the bat. So this is how I do a lot of my drawings. I start off with kind of a rough pencil outline and then go on to a pencil sketch, which I almost entirely remove. You know, get the rubber out and um, remove only the fake line so I can see, and then I start with pen. I love drawing in pen since I started doing biro in school and recently got myself some proper pens. I I kind of love how bold you are, or how bold the color and the outlines are right off the bat. One of the things I've often found, sort of trying to sketch in pencil, be that regular pencil or pencil crayon, you just don't get that same bold color, or maybe I'm not bold enough in using in the way I'm using my pencils. Whereas as soon as you've got pen on paper, you get a really vibrant color, or you get a really bold black outline to go with it. So I found myself a big fan. Still start out in pencil, you know, where you can rub out if you make that mistake. But then once you've got a design you're happy with, committing to pen. That's another nice advantage of pen actually, is once you've committed, you can't sit there with your rubber all day adjusting and readjusting. You've committed to the line now, and that's what you've got to work with. Um, so you can see there, I've been mostly working with one of my fine liners, but there, just to do the shadow, I switched to one of the brush pens. Makes it a bit easier for that bold black color for the shadows, filling in quite a bit of space at one time. And what you can see there on the left hand side, just on another pad of paper I have, I'm testing out the colors. I'm still not quite familiar right off the bat with my new batch of pens and the exact colors they line up to. So testing them out, making sure I've got the color I want before I committed to getting it down on paper. I did know that I wanted purple for this wizard's robes. I'm not sure why it stood out to me as being a purple wizard, but I knew that was what I wanted, and so got ready to put that in place. So here I'm going a slightly different approach. I started off thinking that I would do the color and then provide the outline, but I was finding that the color was losing that initial sketch I'd done, and just found it a little bit trickier really. So switch to getting the outline down first and then essentially coloring in. Now, as you can see here, I'm going through applying the color. I tend not to fret too much over the exact shades I'm using. I pick something out of my box of colors. I think I'm going to have to check in the drawer here how many colors. I've got 48 different shades available, which is quite a lot. I'm glad I invested in this pen set though. It was better than the, I think, 10 I had before. But I do try not to sweat too much about the exact colors I choose, particularly as I quite enjoy digitizing a lot of my work. If you've checked out what I put on Instagram, I often do the initial kind of pen and paper or just pencil sketch, take a photo and upload that, and then create a digital art version. And there are many advantages to digital art and the software. I mean, the undo button is no small amount of help. But one of the things that I also really love it for is you can just experiment with different shades. You've got your color wheel, you've got your fill tool, particularly for block characters like this, where they're not using complex shading, they're just using one color scheme. If you want to edit with slightly different shades, super easy just to try something else. So I'm not too worried about whether this is the exact shade of purple I want to go with or the exact shade of yellow. If I want to tweak that later in the character design, that's absolutely fine. I'm just trying to get most of the way there. So you can see now I'm on the final wizard here. I wanted to go with a darker color for the beard, slightly more menacing, I suppose. He's the most important wizard are meant to be a slightly angrier character, quite a jagged beard, and yeah, the darker tone to it. And I thought good accompanying color for that would be an angry red color. So you see here I'm testing out a few of my different reds, and I wanted to get one that was really red rather than a maroon or some other kind of shade. As I say, I'm still getting used to these pens, so I've got so many little scraps of paper with different colored splodges on them as I have to test out again and again because I forget which shade is which. And it's not quite like using your digital art tool where you get a nice little preview. For anyone who's interested, by the way, I use Affinity Designer mostly. That's my go-to for digitizing these drawings, and I found it really good. It just does everything I need it to, particularly for a nice simple character design like this. You can see as well I've not done a great deal of shading here. That's something I did add to my digital versions, but here I just mostly went with the block colors and a little bit of shading for the shadows beneath their feet. But maybe these characters could do with a bit more shading around the costumes themselves. So adding the final touches in there, adding a nice bit of shading. I think I go on to give it a little title, and yeah, here we are. We have two wizards and a young adventurer. I hope that you like the piece of work here. Let me know what you think in the comments if you're watching, and take care.